Hey humans, welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn. I'm going to read to you. We're reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Chapter 14. Part 1. Such was the history of my beloved cottagers. It impressed me deeply. I learned from the views of social life which it developed to admire their virtues and depreciate the vices of mankind. As yet I looked upon crime as a distant evil. Benevolence and generosity were ever present before me, inciting within me a desire to become an actor in the busy scene where so many admirable qualities were called forth and displayed. But in giving an account of the progress of my intellect, I must not omit a circumstance which occurred in the beginning of the month of August of the same year. One night, during my accustomed visit to the neighboring wood, where I collected my own food and brought home firing for my protectors, I found on the ground a leathern portmanteau containing several articles of dress and some books. I'm guessing a portmanteau is like a leather satchel, maybe. I eagerly seized the prize and returned it to the hovel. Fortunately, the books were written in the language, the elements of which I had acquired at the cottage. Fortunately they are. They consisted of Paradise Lost, a volume of Plutarch's Lives, Plutarch's Lives, and the Sorrows of Werther. The possession of these pleasures gave me extreme delight. I now continually studied and exercised my mind upon these histories, while my friends were employed in their ordinary occupations. I can hardly describe to you the effect of these books. They produced in me an infinity of new images and feelings that sometimes raised me to ecstasy, but more frequently sunk me into the lowest dejection. In the Sorrows of Werther, beside the interest of its simple and affecting story, so many opinions are canvassed and so many lights thrown upon what had hitherto been to me obscure subjects, that I found in it a never-ending source of speculation and astonishment. The gentle and domestic manners described, combined with lofty sentiments and feelings, which had for their object something out of self, accorded well with my experience among my protectors, and with the wants which were ever alive in my own bosom. I swear, every time there's a fucking comma, I'm gonna raise my voice. Just every time there's a comma. I get it, but like, comma! Get it? But I thought Werther himself a more divine being than I had ever beheld or imagined. His character contained no pretension, but it sank deep. The disquisition upon death and suicide were calculated to fill me with wonder. I did not pretend to enter the merits of the case, yet I inclined toward the opinions of the hero, whose extinction I wept without precisely understanding it. See, that's what happens every time I raise my voice for every fucking comma. The dogs don't like when I raise my voice. It's okay, Isabel. It's okay. It's okay. Come on. Come on. Come here now. She wants to get down, but she's afraid. Afraid. She can do it. She's just skittish. As I read, however, I applied much personally to my own feelings and condition. I found myself similar to, yet at the same time strangely unlike, the beings concerning whom I read and to whose conversation I was a listener. I sympathized with and partly understood them, but I was uninformed in mind. I was dependent on none and related to none. What? I could raise my voice? Now Gamora is growling at me. Come on now. We're raising our voices. We're all raising our voices. There's no one there. Okay. The path of my departure was free, and there was none to lament my annihilation. My person was hideous, and my stature gigantic. What did this mean? Who was I? What was I? Whence did I come? What was my destination? These questions continually reoccurred, but I was unable to solve them. The volume of Plutarch's Lives, which I possessed, contained the histories of the first founders of the ancient republics. This book had a far different effect upon me from the sorrows of Werther. I learned from the Werther's imaginations despondency and gloom. But Plutarch taught me higher thoughts. He elevated me above the wretched sphere of my own reflections to admire and love the heroes of past ages. Many things I read surpassed my understanding and experience. I had a very confused knowledge of kingdoms, wide extents of country, mighty rivers, and boundless seas. But I was perfectly unacquainted with towns and large assemblages of men. The cottage of my protectors had been the only school in which I had studied human nature. But this book developed new and mightier scenes of action. I read of men concerned in public affairs, governing or massacring their species. I felt the greatest ardor for virtue rise within me, and abhorrence for vice, as far as I understood the significance of those terms, relative as they were, as I applied to them, to pleasure and pain alone. Induced by these feelings, I was of course led to admire peaceable lawgivers, Numa, Solon, and Lycurgus, in preference to Romulus, and Theseus. I'm not good with the names in the games. The patriarchal lives of my protectors caused these impressions to take a firm hold on my mind. Perhaps if my first introduction to humanity had been made by a young soldier burning for glory and slaughter, I should have been imbued with different sensations. But Paradise Lost excited different and far deeper emotions. I read it, as I had read the other volumes which had fallen into my hands, as a true history. It moved every feeling of wonder and awe that the picture of an omnipotent God wearing with his creatures was capable of exciting. I often remarked the several situations as their similarity struck me to my own. Like Adam, I was created, apparently united by no link to any other being in existence, but his state was far different from mine in every other respect. He had come forth from the hands of God, a perfect creature, happy and prosperous, guarded by the especial care of his creator. He was allowed to converse with and acquire knowledge from beings of a superior nature. But I was wretched, helpless, and alone. Many times I considered Satan as the fitter emblem of my condition, for often, like him, when I viewed the bliss of my protectors, the bitter gall of envy rose within me. Whoa. That's not good. relating to Satan? Oh man, not good at all. Poor guy. He just feels alone inside. Don't we all? If you'd like me to keep reading, please check out more of my videos. Give me a like, subscribe, or write a comment down below, and we will be friends, I promise, because we already are, friend.